A very warm welcome and a very good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for dialing in for this webinar session. My name is Adam Basor. I'm the Assistant Director of the Professional Practices and Community from the IHRP, which is in short for the Institute for Human Resource Professionals. Welcome all to this HRTech SG's 2022 HRTech Market Outlook Report launch, looking into the impact of technology on HR in 2022 and beyond. This webinar will share key global trends and insights on how HR must adjust to this new reality in technology adoption. Today, we are very pleased to partner SHRM Iyer and his team at HRTech SG and the folks over at SHRM and Singapore PolyTechnic to organize this event. Also pleased to have Sriram, whom shall serve as our moderator, where he shall then take you through the webinar proceedings. In the meantime, let me now run through the basic housekeeping rules. For this webinar will be recorded and will be available for download within 3 days post this session. So do watch out for the information on this. For any question and answers, please submit your question via the Q&A chat functionality at the bottom of the Zoom window. If your question is for a specific panelist, please share the question in the following format. Start off with the name of the panelist and followed by the question. This is in order to minimize disruptions from participants' video and microphone will be disabled. Due to the time constraints, we may not be able to address all questions, but we will definitely follow up with a response after this webinar if we are unable to address those that you have raised during this 1-hour session. The chat function has been enabled, right, to allow you for better engagement with the participants in this webinar session. The sharing of presentation materials, please refrain from taking any screenshots of the presentation or slides shared by the speakers. We will send across the approved materials for sharing to attendees in a follow-up email for your reference. So do note that these materials should not be on-forwarded or redistributed to non-attendees. With that out of the way, allow me to introduce our moderator for today. He is Sriram Iyer. Sriram has over 20 years of experience as HR practitioner and a passionate HR tech advocate. He's the founder and CEO of HRTech Market Development and Analyst firm hrtech.sg. He works with enterprises in identifying the best fit technology solutions for their talent-related needs. He's also host to Singapore's largest and curated HRTech marketplace. He's the co-creators of the Singapore HRTech Market Map, which is supported by IHRP, SHRM, and Singapore PolyTechnic. I think with that, I pass the floor over to our moderator, Mr. Sriram. Sriram, please. Thank you. You're on mute, Sriram.
Thank you very much, Adam, for the introduction. And thank you to IHRP, SHRM, and Singapore Poly for supporting us on this event. I'm pleased to have Mayank Parekh, CEO of IHRP, as part of the panel. Mayank needs no introduction. In the last 5 years, IHRP has really been playing a yeoman service in ensuring that the digital HR ecosystem is built and to ensure that HR tech adoption by the Singapore HR teams is really fast. Thank you again, Mayank, for joining us today.
Great to be here. Thank you, Sriram.
Thank you. We also have Charles Ferguson, General Manager, Asia Pacific of Globalization Partners. Charles is responsible end-to-end for driving Globalization Partners growth in the region. Thank you once again for joining us, Charles. We really hope to have some great insights from you today.
Total pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite, man.
Thank you. So with that, welcome to the live launch of the 2022 HRTech Market Outlook Report. As Adam said, I'm Sriram Iyer, the founder and CEO of HRTech.sg. We would like to call ourselves as the super app for HRTech, with offerings such as Marketplace, Market Map, HRTech Advisory and Consulting, Research Services, and even soon to be launched HRTech certifications and jobs. So in 2021, we actually worked with IHRP in putting together the digital transformation playbook, which was all about leveraging technology for delivering people and business outcomes. So while developing the playbook, we had an opportunity to talk to hundreds of industry specialists comprising HR professionals, CXOs, business leaders, service providers, and end users. So the report you're going to see today is an offshoot of that extensive interactions we had then. 2022 and beyond is truly the time for the CHROs to reimagine the HR function, to deliver strong business outcomes. I repeat, strong business outcomes and not just HR outcomes. The 2022 Gartner HR Priorities Survey clearly indicated the need for HR teams to focus on strategic aspects. The top 3 priorities, as you can see on the slide, are building critical skills and competencies, OD and change management, current and future leadership bench. And not surprisingly, technology is part of the top 10 priorities of the CHRO. That's a great endorsement of the need for HR tech adoption. Now, that's a great segue to what we're going to cover today, the 2022 HRTech Market Outlook Report that we are launching today. We are providing the HRTech Market Landscape in a bite-sized format for the HR teams. No complex consulting lingo. Digital HR literacy is a key HR skill of the future. We shall be talking about it later during the presentation on the 9 HR skills of the future. So comprehending this tech landscape is going to be critical for each one of us in the HR fraternity to chart the HR tech roadmap for our organization and also lead the digital HR transformation of the organization. As you can see in the screen, the report is broken down into 5 aspects. Section 1, key market drivers for HR tech adoption. Number 2, we give you a quick overview of the market landscape. 3, because of this market drivers, we are seeing some trends happening. What are those trends? Number 4, because of those trends in 2022 and beyond, what are going to be the HR tech tools that are going to be in demand? And number 5, we're going to talk about the HR skills and jobs of the future. Now, let's get into section 1, where we are talking about the key market drivers for HR tech adoption. While there is detailed explanation for each one of these 8 market drivers, we're going to keep it really, really brief for the discussion today. Now, if you look at it, McKinsey actually came up, developed a way to quantify the proximity required in more than 800 occupations. They grouped them into 10 work arenas. The jobs and work arenas with high levels of physical proximity like healthcare, personal care, F&B, on-site customer interactions, leisure and travel, they're all likely to see great transformation. But that does not mean there will be no effect on the other arenas. There will be a lot of triggering knock-on effects in other work arenas because business models are also shifting. So as HR professionals, we need to keep that in mind. An important aspect of this is a lot of us tend to ignore important activities such as negotiations, employee onboarding, providing sensitive feedback, brainstorming sessions. All of this can be done remotely, but we need to understand only when these are executed in person, they are actually having the required impact. So when we talk about hybrid work arrangements, HR teams really need to be mindful of having some of these aspects in mind. Also, various research suggests that employees prefer hybrid work arrangements. In fact, 1 in 5 prefer to do remote work permanently. I repeat, 1 in 5 employees prefer to do remote work permanently. So are you all prepared for it? Is the question. And finally, most important, there are a lot of rapidly evolving roles. For example, roles in workplace scheduling, workplace safety, access management, they're all gaining a lot of traction. And we need to remember when we talk about workplace safety, even when they are working remotely, we are responsible for their safety, as we have seen in some of the recent judicial cases where the courts in many countries have said that it is the responsibility of the organization. So when we talk about hybrid workplace, it's not just about working from home, but there are a lot of aspects tied to it. The second aspect, there's an expectation of a consumer grade experience. When employees are working from home, they toggle between workplace and consumer applications, right? They have the HRMS on one side, they have Spotify on the other side. It is important for us to provide a consumer grade experience for their workplace applications too. For example, if they say, hey, Siri, set an alarm in 5 minutes, then why should not the employee say, hey, Siri, create a leave request for me today? That's why integrated apps such as Zapier are gaining prominence, because they help integrate the standalone applications. We need to start providing consumer grade experience through our workplace applications. Number 3, the great employee resignation is definitely real, right? And what we have seen, and we have shared in the report, a lot of stats on which segment has been affected. As HR professionals, we need to understand organizations need to adopt technology in a big way to deliver candidate and employee experience, to stand out as an employer of choice. That's the only way to stem attrition. One of the interesting thing that we are noticing is, because of VC funding flowing into startups at an all-time high, employees are quitting to become entrepreneurs. So as an organization, you need to create an entrepreneurial culture to effectively engage some of these employees who probably might quit to start off on their own. So the great employee resignation is a key transformation driver for HR teams to adopt technology. Next, very, very important, and we tend to get confused between resilience and agility, right? But what is agility? What is resilience? Agility is the flexibility to stay ahead of the competition to surprise them. I repeat, agility is the flexibility to stay ahead of the competition to surprise them. Resilience is the ability to quickly recover when you are surprised by competition. Resilience is the ability to quickly recover when you are surprised by competition. So you need to focus both on agility and resilience. One of the key things that we have highlighted in the report is we have to stop doing just periodic performance reviews. That's not going to be helpful. You got to focus on periodic course corrections too. So don't just focus on periodic performance reviews, focus on relentless course correction. Now, because of this, again, there are a lot of knock-on effects on the trends. Number 5, there is a big need for productivity, both organization and HR productivity. HR budgets in 2022, when we talk to a lot of CHROs, are remaining flat or probably even reducing. So you need to leverage technology to increase productivity. And in the report, we have talked about how various employee self-service options have now become a reality thanks to products such as Microsoft Viva and ServiceNow. This way, HR teams can actually focus on strategic aspects. Number 6, changing workforce demographics. Now, a report said that over 3 million women in the United States actually moved out of the workforce in 2020 and 2021 to take care of the family because of the pandemic. Now, that's caused a dramatic decline of women in workforce. There's a lot of talk by companies on bringing about fair and inclusive practices that embrace LGBTQIA+ rights. There is a demographic shift towards an aging workforce. Many economies, including Singapore. So if you look at, there is a lot of demographic changes that are happening. So we need to focus on DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusivity, belonging, in a big way to ensure we hire and retain talent. And that's why we need to leverage technology as much as possible. 7th is data privacy. Under various data privacy acts, HR needs to upload new employee rights and also formalize and clearly spell out what these rights are. As a result of GDPR and some of these privacy acts, we need to understand HR will need to review and update many of our current processes. You know, with the stakes high for non-compliance, and that's straight up Charles's alley, right? If there is non-compliance, HR should ensure that we provide right level of access while viewing and accessing employee data. So data privacy is proving to be a great transformation driver. And finally, cybersecurity. You know, as per a survey, 76% of remote workers accessed work files with non-protected devices. Imagine the security threat. So with a remote or a hybrid work arrangement where employees use personal devices on home networks, compliance is not going to be straightforward. Because of all of these 8 transformation drivers, we are seeing a lot of new trends coming in. But before we move to the trends, let us quickly look at the HRTech market landscape. As per many reports, right, there are over 50 plus unicorns in the HRTech space. And you will be surprised that over 25 to 30 of them have come up just in the last 1.5 years. That's really mind-boggling that HRTech unicorns have come in the last 1.5 years, right? When we tracked the global investments and startup funding, it was startling. We tracked 300 plus deals in 2021. $13 billion have flowed into 300 plus deals. And what is also important is 10 of these deals accounted for 85%. Talent acquisition witnessed maximum investment deals. A clear indicator when companies have to adopt technology. After payroll, the first thing that they go in is for talent acquisition tools to adopt technology, right? 70% of these investments flowed into Series C to F startups. This is very important. What it means is investors are pouring their money into startups which have proven solutions. So that's why a lot of money is flowing into C to F startups. And finally, 60%, 65% of the funding is going into North America. Now, when we track the M&A deals, again, we tracked 80 plus deals. Talent acquisition witnessed the maximum deals. What it means is because there are a lot of players in the talent acquisition space, there is a lot of consolidation happening. And surprisingly, July and August, 30% of the 80 plus deals happened then. So the report does talk about some of these aspects. So download the report and you could get more insights from it. We'll talk about the key HRTech market trends, right? Number one, rapidly evolving OD. And this is a very critical aspect, and a lot of new tools that are coming into the marketplace are focusing on this. Now, let me explain this to you with this data point that we have provided in the report. Work dynamics have changed. Today, if you look at every organization, they have multivariate employment models. They have gig workers, part-timers, return to work professionals, silver generation workforce, as we call it in Singapore, interns, secondments, apprentices. It's a multivariate employment model. So OD has to change accordingly. And we have 5 generations now working together with Gen Z at the doorstep. So it's not just workforce is growing more complex, careers are also going dynamic. So the historic correlation between age and career progression may no longer remain valid. So as we have seen in some of the Hollywood movies, a mid-career intern would probably be reporting to a new college graduate. We need to understand age and career progression are getting disassociated. And what we are also seeing is going forward in 2022 and beyond. On the screen, you will see formal blocks and informal blocks, right? The informal building blocks of norms, commitments, mindsets, and networks, they're gaining a lot of importance over the formal building blocks of decisions, motivators, information, and structure. So as a HR professional, if your organizational design is not oriented towards the informal side of it, you're going to be in for some shakeup. So these blocks, informal blocks, are becoming an important part of the organizational DNA. Next trend we are seeing is a strong focus on change management. And that's why there are a lot of tools that we are going to talk about are focusing on change management. Now, business priority in 2022 will focus on improving operational excellence. They want to execute dramatic business transformations, change of business models. All of this will happen in 2022 and beyond. HR teams, we need to support our business teams to have a seamless change management process to cushion the employees from both external and internal changes. So change management is going to be critical for all of us. So if you are going on a business transformation, digital HR transformation, have a sound change management approach in place. Number 3, global compliance management. Whether it is with regard to payroll, taxes, visas, medical insurance, any other legalities, compliance is now indispensable. So with hybrid work culture, and a lot of return to work initiatives being evolving, businesses are now facing increasing compliance and operational challenges. So we will hear more about this from Charles on how globalization partners is actually helping enterprises globally. Today, you can hire talent wherever they are located in 180 plus countries, right? With organizations such as globalization partners to help you on that. That is what we are talking about. Global complaints management is leading to a lot of global employment platforms coming into place, which help you hire talent wherever they are located. DEIB. Now, quickly want to demystify DEIB. What's DEIB? Werner Myers has already explained it. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Now we have Jeff Hutchinson who added for E and B. Equity is having an accessibility ramp to the door, and belonging is deciding the music for the party. That sums up really what DEIB essentially means, right? The pandemic has deepened the focus of organizations on DEIB. Asia Pacific has always been a little behind from when compared to our Western counterparts on DEIB, but we see slowly traction happening here on DEIB too. And it features at the top of the priority list of most CHROs. This is one of our favorite, the fifth one, creator economy and hyper personalization. I'll give you a classic example to cite the aspect of creator economy, right? Let's take up performance management. The employees will move from being a consumer to creator. What does that mean? Employees will create their own targets and KPIs. So as HR professionals, we need to give them the necessary tools that provide them with that information, provide them with the data, and they would decide the targets. We are seeing not just in performance management, right from payroll to compensation to benefits, we are seeing the shift to consumer to creator. Hyper personalization. So personalization really changed how companies thought about employee centricity. Hyper personalization will actually expand these learnings to help employees have a connect with employees in the moments that matter. So MTM, as we all know, has been traditionally ignored. Now with hyper personalization, we are talked about involving Siri or a Google Assistant or Alexa. Probably a lot more hyper personalization will come in. Number 6, skills is the new currency. So as per a Gartner analysis, companies listed about 33% more skills on their job ads in 2020 than they did in 2017. That's a mind-boggling 33% increase. So which means in an average job ad, you've got more skills listed. Skills is the new currency. So we are going to be seeing the tools, right? Whether it is internal mobility or whether it comes to hiring or learning and development, we've got to stop hiring for roles. We've got to hire for skills. We've got to find people with transferable skills so that every 3 years when skills become obsolete, we are able to move them to other roles. Next, and sorry, that was my timer for 20 minutes. Number 7 is employee mental well-being, right? What we have clearly noticed is remote work, social isolation, blurred work-life balance. They've all placed large amounts of stress on employees. In fact, as per a Lyra survey, there are more than 1 in 3 employees have experienced burnout in 2021. A lot of global agencies have said that the next lurking pandemic is mental wellness, mental health. In fact, we have about 4 or 5 mental wellness startups in Singapore. North America has got 1,000 plus mental wellness startups working on this. Employee mental wellness is going to be a critical aspect. So as HR teams, are we focusing on it? Number 8, product integration and interconnectivity. Now, we did talk about it. Integration apps such as Zapier are getting really popular because they help connect your payroll and standalone systems to provide a seamless experience. You've got to provide a seamless experience to your candidates and employees. They are really not bothered on what tools that you are using. You've got to ensure that you have an integrated and interconnected system to provide a seamless experience. Now, so we saw the market transformation drivers. just a quick recap. We saw the transformation drivers, and because of that, we have seen these 8 HR tech trends, and now we're going to see the trending tools, right? Number 1, we are going to see new age HRMS systems coming into the market. These are all-in-one HRMS platforms. No more just payroll, leave, claims, attendance. A lot more redefined HCMs are coming into the market. So we are going in the sequence of the employee life cycle. In the talent planning stage, because we are seeing a lot of evolving organizational design, because of skills being the currency, a lot of talent intelligence platforms are coming in. So the report actually talks about some of these talent intelligence platforms, provides you link to some of these products also without endorsing any one product. We are giving you all of those aspects. Internal talent marketplace. Now we have seen a lot more companies in the last, lot more service providers in the last 12 to 18 months expanding to provide talent marketplaces to ensure people internally are able to rotate, right? Next comes talent acquisition, global employment platforms, and that's where globalization partners, kind of firms are really helping. You can now hire talent anywhere in the globe seamlessly and being 100% compliant. You don't have to have an entity in any of the countries to hire talent. Next, assessments are completely getting reject, right? Assessments, both psychometric assessments, technical assessments, soft skill assessments, or the delivery in terms of video interviews. We've got facial recognition. So there's a tool which actually sees whether how confident, overconfident, underconfident is the employee during the interview. A lot of such tools are available. We are seeing a lot of DEIB tools coming into the market, which clearly help you right from the sourcing stage to ensure you are well covered on DEIB aspects. In fact, some of them gives you scores on how strong is your DEIB. Next, in the talent engagement space, performance management is getting shaken up, right? Earlier, you had employees and the Tauke used to see them work in the offices. Now people are working remotely. You got to rejig your smart performance management system. We talked about creator, consumer to creator. So employees would probably design their own performance management metrics. We are seeing a lot of employee listening tools. And number 3, a lot of mental wellness platforms are going to be in trend. Now, one thing I want to highlight is we have always consciously avoided putting mental wellness under benefits because we think mental wellness, employee wellness needs is to be under talent engagement. Digital coaching platforms. Now with AI, every employee can have a one-to-one digital coach. Talent operations with vaccination management platforms, capacity management platforms, because you might have to say only 50% can work in office, 60% can work in office. Today, HR teams are manually doing this on Excel sheets. Platforms have come in to track, have they got the booster doses? Have they got 4th, 5th doses? We don't know. So all of these platforms are coming in for talent operations. Compensation planning. If you have employees in multiple countries, EPF, CPF, PF in different countries, long-term incentives, short-term incentives, stock options, everything can be now done on compensation planning systems. No more on Excel sheets. Talent analytics. ONA is proving to be a key tool that we are increasingly seeing because a lot of new players that have come in. And finally, conversational chatbots. And we mentioned conversational chatbots separately because these have applications across the 8 talent categories in the entire employee life cycle. So these are the 9 categories. We have talked about it in detail in the reports. Finally, very briefly, we have talked about it, the 9 essential HR skills, right? 3 blocks. First is the data and tech skills. The second block is the business acumen skills. The third block is the soft skills. Now, traditionally, HR teams have always focused on soft skills or they've always had business focus. In fact, the new body of competency of IHRP says strategic business partner as a key body of competency, right, as part of the BOC. Now, you need to understand the essential pillar, which they've also included, is tech savviness and digital literacy and analytical thinking. Every decision that HR teams need to make should be data driven. It's no more instinct based, gut based. So as HR teams, as HR professionals, do we have these 9 HR skills of the future? Not just that, HBR came up with the 21 HR jobs of the future. So we have listed the 21 HR jobs: algorithm bias auditors, employee engagement coach, well-being director, human bias officer, HR data detectives, work from home facilitators. For example, strategic HR business continuity director. We saw change management being an important aspect, and we are seeing we're seeing a lot of companies actually focusing on HR business continuity director as a role. Now, this 25 minutes, I've tried to summarize what the 60-70 page report actually contains. You can download the report using the QR code or use the bit.ly link. Do feel free to reach out to us at info@hrtech.sg if you have queries, questions, or if you have more questions around any of these drivers, trends, and tools. Now, with that, I have the extreme pleasure of inviting Mayank to take over from here. Now, Mayank, I would really like you to talk to us about 2 aspects: your key takeaways from the report, and how is IHRP really strengthening the HR ecosystem so that the HR professionals are geared up for the future. Over to you, Mayank.
Thank you, Sriram. Extremely comprehensive analysis overview. I think you've done justice to the many months of research that you've undertaken as part of the work that went into the playbooks. So well done. I think it's a testimony to all the hard work and the effort from you and your team. So I think you asked me the question about what are the key takeaways, right? I would think that the key takeaway for me is essentially that this is a stunning validation of all the things that we have been thinking about, concerned about for the HR profession going forward, and trying to kind of grapple in terms of what can HR do, right? What can HR do given this tsunami that is coming? So I think this is really the key takeaway for me. It gives all HR professionals out there a very good overview, as well as very practical opportunities that they can provide for themselves in terms of their skills, as well as opportunities for their companies to improve processes, to improve their business outcomes, right? And when we were thinking about developing playbooks, right? We had to kind of decide, so which are the playbooks, right? Which are the playbooks that IHRP should develop for the HR profession? What's the burning platform out there? And it was digital. I think digital transformation within the HR function stood out head and shoulders above any other area of concern or any other area of emphasis for the HR function. And what we have discovered is really over the last 1 year, that trend has just increased, right? I think there's a Gartner survey that tells us that companies have been increasing their investments in emerging technologies in 2021 compared to 2020, right? So far from this being a linear progression, it's an exponential progression, right? So technology is just going to reshape the future of work as we know today across industries, across countries, right? No one will be spared. And technologies will affect the jobs that are available. They will also have tremendous implications on skills. What skills will be essential in the future, which means that it's front and center for HR, jobs and skills. So HR teams then will need to kind of begin to do much more in looking at digital tools, novel ways of working, and performing the tasks that we are usually known for, right? But it's not just about technology, right, Sriram, as we know, which is the next slide I want to go into. It's really, if you look at what makes a successful digital transformation, I think you have to take a holistic view. And no matter how exciting a technology is, it is crucial for us to kind of bear in mind that it is also about how you blend that technology into the organizational processes. How do you have the right mindsets across the organization, from the top all the way to the bottom, that embraces the technology, that the new way of working? And finally, do you have the right skills within the organizations to make the best use and the best outcomes out of the investment in that technology? So that is, I think, a unique feature of our IHRP playbooks. In any other HR tech guidebook that you pick up, it is very unusual to find people talking about processes, mindsets, skills. But I think what we have done in the playbook is really consciously decided to take that holistic approach. And the last thing I would say about the playbook that is unique, which is the next slide, is really what we have done is we have made it very practical. We have made it very practical for organizations, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed with the jargon, with the technology, right? So what we have done is we have tried to use as non-jargon language as possible, as we possibly can. Use language of the business, not language of HR, language of the business, to help illustrate how technology can help HR fulfill business outcomes, right? And what we have done so through case studies, right? And I've just highlighted 2 case studies here to illustrate this point. One case study is a local small company, small and medium enterprise in Singapore, looking for regional expansion, being challenged in terms of some, basic opportunities to kind of say, how do I keep track? How do I keep track of time, over time? So because it drives my compensation schemes and so on. And this is how, they've identified the technology, the processes they used to get there. And in terms of understanding how that technology can be maximized, what did they have to do to change their internal processes to ensure that the technology serves their business needs? And then they had very measurable outcomes that then provided justification for the investment that they made. And similarly for Fei Xiong, which is in the F&B business, similarly, starting from a business challenge, in this case, trying to understand for this large and diverse workforce that they had challenges with learning, because they had significant turnover, which meant you needed to have a very good system to get people up to speed. How do you get that done in a fashion that helps at the bottom line, right? So they invested in a talent development system. They invested in a system that enabled bite-sized modules provided opportunities to provide that induction, orientation, upskilling at scale at a faster pace. And then they measured the outcome in terms of man hours saved and productivity. So these are very tangible examples that organizations out there, whether you're small or you're big, that can resonate with you. And I think that was what we really wanted to work with HRTech.sg to position this playbook uniquely within the resources that are already available there. So where can you find this playbook? Next slide, Sriram. So the playbook is available for download for free, right? So please, scan, access the playbook. We have an executive summary. So if you are not, you don't have time to go through all 4 chapters of the playbook, there's one executive summary that gives an overview of exactly what I talked about. So do scan, get a chance, download, go through it, discuss it with your team, and if you're an IHRP professional, do reach out to us as well for feedback. Provide us with an opportunity to kind of help you also think about what opportunities there are to implement some of these learnings within your organization. And we'll be very happy to do that together with you. So thank you, Sriram, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mike. Charles, any key takeaways from the report from your perspective? We really want you to focus on the compliance aspect and the global employment platforms, which we think are a strong growing trend.
Yeah, look, I've really appreciated this discourse, your analysis and Mayank's correlation to some of the practicality, both of the playbooks that you've worked on together, but also through your dissertation around this report. Again, demystifying the sort of implications of technology vis-a-vis the people operations agenda, right? And I think removing the techno-babble and the parlance that's directly related to a particular discipline like human capital management, and just making it approachable and consumable. You mentioned as an example that there is now an increasing level of expectation across the spectrum of the employee universe. That includes obviously the HR professionals who are attending this session today, but also, the rank and file workers who are out there doing the jobs that we're employing them to do. There's an increased expectation of a consumer grade experience, right? And that is, something that transcends technology, it transcends process and policy. It becomes something that kind of democratizes every aspect of what we do in our day-to-day work. We expect, regardless, by the way, of generation, which I find quite interesting. And the fact you mentioned the confluence of the 5 generations now working together and Gen Z on the doorstep, et cetera, et cetera. I totally agree. And what's been fascinating about this pandemic, as an example, one of the outcomes is that it has created, to varying degrees of severity, right? Not to trivialize anyone's unique individual experience, but it has created an environment where we've all kind of experienced something together across the demographics. And a part of that, kind of an undercurrent of that, is the leveraging of technology that let's not, kid ourselves. 24 months ago, well, hell, this Zoom webinar would have been magical for us, right? And here we are as a work-a-day kind of, this has just become muscle reflex for us now to have these types of engagements. So I bring all that up to say to you that indeed it is the case that when you can take the significantly complex environment of technology and kind of distill it down to something that is simple, that expresses a high degree of sophistication, because the most sophisticated thing you can do is to simplify something, right? So the playbooks that were mentioned, the report that we're launching officially kind of out in this discourse today, I think do a wonderful job of simplifying a very complex challenge and opportunity. So that's one of my key takeaways. Another one that you pointed directly towards what we do as a business is around compliance. And before I kind of peel that back, perhaps a couple of layers, I do want to call out the fact that at the end of the day, what we're talking about is the way and means by which we as human beings engage with one another. Granted, it's in a work construct, but the way and means by which we as humans work together, relate with one another, the humanization of work has dramatically come into focus. And you mentioned, diversity and inclusion and belonging and equity is kind of a key element. I saw some comments coming through in the Q&A and in the chat around mental well-being and mental health. These are topics that heretofore, I would suggest to you, were perhaps not necessarily taboo, but they certainly weren't discussed as prolifically as they are now, to the extent to which I feel like it's actually becoming more of a mainstream conversation. It's no longer stigmatized necessarily. Now, again, I'm generalizing here. Various cultures, various echelons of the economy and the workplace have different points of view, and that's completely fair. But I would suggest that this is becoming more accepted as a relevant and rational conversation. And you made a comment that was actually called out in the chat earlier. I was reading through where you said that mental well-being, and I'm not giving the full quote here, but is perhaps the next pandemic, right? And I don't disagree. But the good news story here is that through the application of technology and through the now front and center visibility that HR practitioners have in the organization, I feel like we're probably on the front foot as opposed to the back foot in our ability to address the challenges inherent in burnout and the types of changes that have happened in the workplace in a very short amount of time, but in a very concentrated fashion. Related particularly to those aspects are the areas of not only current engagement with current employees and well-being, et cetera, but also the need to kind of armor ourselves to go out and fight in the global war for talent and the talent acquisition story. So when you think about that, and you mentioned it, and I appreciate the sort of the overview of what we do as a business in your discourse, but when companies decide that they want to go out and expand their business geographically, number one, or number two, when they decide that they need to look at the global talent pool as the talent pool that they should tap into to attract the right types of talent they require for their work endeavors, whether that's contract workers or gig workers or project-based staff or full-time or whatever it might be, particularly when you mentioned skills as the new currency, you have to broaden your perspective of what's available out there and where you should be looking. Given that, there's a unique opportunity for you to, as you had mentioned, look into countries where you might not be present to either take advantage of that unique opportunity in that unique market, or perhaps tap into new talents, into new markets that you don't have a presence in today. Whilst that is an incredible opportunity, it's also a phenomenal challenge. Compliance, when you go out as a corporation and how you decide that you're going to get into a new market or compliantly hire in a new market, it's not the sexiest part of the business, is it, to talk about compliance and kind of how to avoid risk and how to ensure that what you're doing is within the bounds of regulations and employment laws and customs and taxation, et cetera. However, to an extremely large extent, it is one of the most profound potential impacts to your business if you don't consider it at the beginning of your planning process. If you get it wrong, kind of best case is you get punitive damages and fines. Worst case is you could destroy your business, lock, stock, and barrel. So it's very important that you understand, can employees legally work from anywhere? What are the tax implications? What are the limits in compensation for overtime? How do I design my benefits packages? You think about, remember the great financial crisis in 2008, 2009. One of the outcomes of that was that governments all around the world very quickly, first of all, started to stimulate their economies, but they also very quickly started to write a bunch of new laws and new policies around the nature of their domestic workforces. Fast forward to the pandemic, and we've seen phenomenal amounts of stimulus coming from governments. And just for example, here in Singapore, we've gone beyond the call of duty. I would suggest that the government has gone way beyond to ensure that the local workforce has been very well protected and very well supported through the course of this pandemic. And hats off for this incredible effort. And thankfully, we had massive reserves to tap into. The reality is that once you start to spend that stimulus money, at the end of the day, we need to also pay back those coffers. We need to pay back into the stimulus buckets where that money came from. Part and parcel of that is through taxes. It's also through foreign direct investment, right? And in order to ensure that those things are well supported, new policies, new laws, new sorts of means and regulations by which we regulate and take care of our workforce are very rapidly coming into the marketplace. And that's just here in Singapore. If you amplify that globally, it's a cavalcade of every week, every day, every month, new regulations and new sorts of compliance requirements, particularly and specifically related to labor law, that have to be understood. So that's both a challenge and an opportunity. It's an opportunity to kind of leverage kind of my last point here with respect to this, which is what I'm saying to my team and my kind of welcome to 2022 note internally is we have 3 Ps moving forward, right? Number 1 is people. Number 2 is purpose. And number 3 is partnerships. You probably thought I was going to say product, but I'm not. I'm leaving product and technology off the table because that's a table stakes conversation. Partnerships means it's no longer about, vendors and, service providers. That it's all about partnerships. And for us, what that means is we want to be a partner, thus our name, Globalization Partners. We want to be a partner to the companies that are going out to expand their business. We want to be a partner for companies that are going out to tap into global talent pools. We have a very tight group of partners we work with in our ecosystem to amplify the value that we can bring to the market with those partners. So I think that the technology provides the seamless experience so you're not disintermediated and non-integrated across the way and means by which you consume the services and technologies. It has to be seamless and integrated and hopefully just one kind of view, which is what we bring to the market as our platform. But very importantly, instead of trying to be all things to all people, you should be very focused on how you reach out and curate and form strong partnerships like the one we have with HRTech.sg as an example, to provide insights, to provide access. We have a product that we've brought to market called GP Recruit. And that's all about companies that might not know if they want to go to a new market, might not have talent available in that market ready to go, but they want to access talent. We're not a recruitment company, but we have an ecosystem of recruiters that we work with through our platform to give you the best-in-class technology and the best-in-class talent through our partners to solve those problems for you. That's just a way to think about it. You mentioned, for example, you've got a number of companies that you're not necessarily endorsing, but you're calling out as providers of really strong tech. Those are partners that these companies that are looking for guidance should be considering. And I would suggest to you that if tech providers and service providers, et cetera, come to you with a partnership mentality and you reciprocate that, you're going to be much better set up for scale and success in 2022 and beyond post-pandemic than if you go in with the traditional mindset around vendor, consumer, these types of old school mentalities. So compliance is going to be critical. Partnerships are going to be critical. and the tech is the enabler. That's kind of a lot of what I took from the conversation.
It's a great summary, Charles. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much again for joining in today. So we've had 2-3 questions, and I think Mayank has answered the question on SMEs. In fact, just wanted to let you know, as part of the HRTech COP of IHRP, we would be having an event that was focusing on what are the grants and subsidies that companies in Singapore can leverage in technology adoption. So watch out for that. There's one question on mental wellness, mental stigma, which Charles very efficiently handled. I just wanted to give a quick example. So one of the clients that we worked with, what they did was realized you cannot handle mental health issues reactively. You have to do it more proactively. So they used data-driven decision approach. They used the leave factor. They used a change in productivity and performance. They used probably some part of organizational network analysis to see if how the employee social networks are changing. Using all of these data, they realize that who are the employees who are at the fringe of mental health. It's a proactive approach to solving mental health. And that's what is expected from all of us as HR professionals. Can we become more proactive in identifying mentally health risk employees rather than being very, very reactive? No one is using employee assistance programs. They want proactive support. And finally, there's a question from Abhinandan. I'm going to quickly flash my screen. Abhi, this is a slide that we have in the digital transformation playbook, which answers your questions. Why are companies not adopting technology, right? These are the various points. But I put it back on HR's role. HR teams are unable to present return on investment when they present the technology investment to their business leaders. If they are able to articulate ROI in dollars and cents, we have seen the business leaders approving the same. So while there are a lot of reasons why companies do not adopt technology, the key aspect is HR teams need to use ROI. I would again encourage you to download the playbook that Mayank had shared. Great insights. Just right on time, I would really like to take this opportunity to thank Mayank and Charles for their inputs. Really valid inputs and great insights for the professionals here. We've had about 225 professionals join us at 4 p.m. SGT. Thank you for being with us for the past 1 hour. I'd really like to thank IHRP, which has been a pillar of support for the HR fraternity in Singapore, to SHRM, who's really helped us in our growth and expanding into India and other regions. Thank you, SHRM, and Singapore PolyTechnic. Those folks have, in fact, they have the specialized diploma in human resource skills where they use the hrtech.sg, HR market map, HRTech market map as part of their course study so that the students really know more about technology. So thank you to all the partners. I hand it back to you, Adam.
Right, thank you very much, Ram. And also thank you for panel members for an insightful session and sharing. I think a quick roundup when Sriram highlighted and shared the HRTech Market Outlook Report. It emphasizes on the data-driven decision for HR that is necessary, and with Mayank sharing the digital playbook, right, that also provides the guide, practical application for enterprises to adopt technology into their teams, into their organization. Last but not least, I remembered what Charles has mentioned, the 3 Ps, which is people, purpose, and partnership, right, Charles? These are necessary for tech adoption for the HR teams. I think these are very useful nuggets, shared resources in this afternoon. Unfortunately, it doesn't do justice for 1 hour. I think you can refer back to the resources as what the links has been given. So in this instance, I would like to to have a quick shout out to Sriram Iyer and his switcher of HRTech, who has continually partners IHRP in organizing and delivering this webinar session. Also gratitude and shout out to our supporting partners, SHRM and Singapore PolyTechnic as well. Now, as you see on the screen, please, we do require your help to fill up the feedback form so that this will enable us to seek your inputs and feedback so that throughout the rest of the year, we can conduct and implement and deliver relevant workshops, topics, themes, and webinars for the next few months to come. I think once again, thank you very much, all panel members, Charles, Mayang, Sriram, for organizing this. IHRP is more than happy to partner, and we also like to value the participants who are here until towards the end, and please fill up your feedback. Once again, thank you and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye all. Bye-bye.